Hi guys, just want to start with our comment spotlight for the week. First of all, as always, you guys always post just such great comments. They're very thought-provoking and just really make me take a step back and look at the chapter or certain moments in a whole new way. And they bring up some interesting points that we're actually going to come back to. For one, I had Summer Turner bring up Albania, the forest, and how it just seems that bad things come out of Albania. And when we come to a point in the series where we can focus in on that a little bit, I'm going to do a lot of research and see if there's anything behind that area of the world or why she chose that. Because what I'm finding, especially in my research where I read a lot of J.K. Rowling's personal writings and thoughts about the book, is that she put so much thought into everything she did. So I'm sure there's a reason behind it. We'll go into that. But moving on. The comment spotlight for this week was actually made by one of my closest friends, Parker Pierce. Thank you. Thank you for sharing what you did. For those of you who may not have gotten to see it, I'll go ahead and read it for you. Chapter 2 of Sorcerer's Stone is one of my favorites because it really starts to bring out the creative genius of J.K.'s story building. For those of us that have read through all of the books, we know that Harry speaking to the snake is something that will have massive consequences in the second book. However, I think the parcel tongue is a smaller example of a much larger theme that is being fleshed out in this chapter. That theme being the similarity/differences and connection between Harry and Voldemort. It's not just the parcel tongue. Both orphans, both alone, both without friends, both raised by Muggles, both discouraged from realizing their ability. These layered similarities end up being, in my opinion, the most powerful character development tool for Harry. They are so striking that Voldemort himself acknowledges them, which leads Harry to a moment of crisis at the end of the second book, and he spends his entire life trying to differentiate himself from the evil man that he literally cannot separate himself from. Two characters that are so similar in so many ways, but different from each other in the one way that matters. I think that it is here, in the second chapter of the first book, that J.K. starts to give us the pieces to a puzzle that we don't even know we are putting together yet. Genius story building. Thank you very much, Parker. I loved this comment. I love looking into the deeper elements of Harry's personality, and especially as the books go on, the relationship between he and Voldemort. And for all of you listeners, Parker is one of the biggest Harry Potter fans I know. He listens to the audiobooks on repeat and actually got me and my husband, Bishop, into listening to them when we were in college. Oh my goodness. It was such a fun time. We developed a love for Jim Dale, and it was because of Parker, and we had so many great conversations about it. So yeah, thank you for posting this comment. Her story building is without a doubt one of my favorite parts of the series. And I feel like there's so many things in these first moments of the series that she starts that play a huge part later in the books. And this is probably the biggest one, the crisis that literally follows Harry throughout the entire series. And I think starts in the second book, especially when he realizes that Parseltongue is something that he does share with Voldemort. And he struggles with maybe he would have been put in Slytherin and just how much of him is really like Voldemort. Like you said, they had a lot of the same backgrounds, but then such a different outcome being enemies. And even with their wands, we're going to talk more about this next week, and I'm so excited. Y'all get ready to talk about wands. It's going to be fun. But we talk about cores and how Voldemort and Harry have the exact same type of core from the same bird, fox, which is just a huge deal. And I think it just has such a huge impression on Harry. But like Parker said, I really loved how he pointed out that they're different from each other in the one way that matters. And, besides Harry having love and being a kind person, it kind of connects to a thing that I talk about in next week's article, which is the amount of compassion that Harry has toward other people. I think it's the most important part of his personality. Beyond the average person, like even Ron and Hermione, I feel like in times of trouble, even when he's feeling down, he always turns to compassion toward others, which is just so foreign. to Voldemort. So yeah, it's not only the sacrifice of love that he had from his mom that protected him, but just the inherent caring for people that he has. And in the end, that'll separate him from Voldemort every single time. What a good topic to bring up. And this is definitely going to be something we talk about more and more as the books go on and Harry begins to enter this crisis himself. But yeah, great thought, Parker. I won't spend any more time talking about this because I guess we have to get to the video. But I hope you enjoy our discussion of these next chapters in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Welcome back to Muggles and Mocha, our third video, our third chapter. Man, I have had such a good time so far. This is actually the first video I have gotten to record since the website has been live. The other two were recorded in advance, and so I'm trying to record them a week out so I'm not too far behind the news of the day. I don't know. But anyway, this is my first one to record since we've had the website up and out there. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who have watched these, who have read the articles or shared them or commented. I have loved it, and this has just been so fun. And I just look forward to Fridays because this is when I record my videos and it's just a good time. I love talking about this and making these videos for you guys. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Y'all have been the best. Oh, and if you like these videos, please feel free to like and subscribe my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date whenever videos come out. If you miss one of the articles, you can still see when a new video is posted. And also follow me on social media. I post a lot there, and that's how you can figure out when things are going down and when things are going to be posted and stuff like that. So today we are discussing chapter 3 for sure, and maybe chapter 4. I'll let you guys know before this video is released. You'll know if we're going to be discussing chapter 4 or not. But for now, I have my coffee of the day. I was fancy today and went literally downstairs. We live above a coffee place called 5th Street Cafe, and I haven't had one of these since quarantine started. Got it to go. Was good on the social distancing. But yeah, hazelnut latte. Gosh, I'm ready for things to open up again. I'm serious. This needs to stop. But for now, here we are. So back to it. We have our book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and we're starting with chapter 3 today. And where did we leave Harry? In the last paragraph of chapter 2, it was pretty sad. He basically told us he has no friends, he has no one, he's always had hope that there's something out there, but it looks like it's just not going to happen. But we know the truth. And it's going to start in this chapter. We have a huge buildup in this chapter, and gosh, I was getting so excited for Hagrid to bust down the door. We're going to get there. At the beginning of chapter 3, Harry is still miserable. He's out of the cupboard, thank goodness. His punishment is over, but he's running from Dudley. He talks about Harry hunting that Dudley and his friends participate in. Yikes. And he is kind of ready for secondary school. It looks like he and Dudley are going to split up, and Dudley's going to Smeltings. I've always wanted to know what Smeltings is like, or if it's real. Surely not. Surely not. But if you know something, if it's real, let us know in the comments because I'd like to know. But then, soon after, we get the first letter, and it is addressed to Mr. H. Potter, The Cupboard Under the Stairs, 4 Privet Drive, Little Whinging Shuri. So these people know everything about him, and it's kind of sad. This is the first letter Harry says he's ever gotten. He's never even gotten one from the library for a late book. It's one of the examples that he gives. So he, especially us coming off of this second chapter where he talks about there's no one out there who knows him or cares about him, this would be a really big moment where he's like, oh, there's something for me, and they know where I live. They know I live in the cupboard, And I kind of want to take a moment, actually, and talk about something super interesting that I found on the Wizarding World website. And by the way, I've been calling it Pottermore. It's not actually Pottermore anymore. Pottermore anymore. Yeah, I have no idea why. I don't know if it's because the franchise was getting so big and they wanted something that was like all encompassing, and they got that new logo that says Wizarding World and has all the wands. You know what I'm talking about. So I don't know, but it's called Wizarding World, so that's what I'll refer to it as now instead of Pottermore. That's what I'm talking about, the old Pottermore website. So I read an article about how people are chosen to go to Hogwarts, and I had never realized this. I've always wondered, how did they, find especially Muggle children who were exhibiting magical abilities? Like, who's looking at this? Well, J.K. Rowling writes about it on the Wizarding World website, and it's called The Quill of Acceptance and the Book of Admittance. So basically, there's a quill that's said to be taken from an augury bird, and then this book, and whenever there is like hints of magic from kids around the world, around the area, I don't really know how far the range goes, it writes down the name of the kid. But what's funny is it says that the quill is more lenient than the book. So, for instance, the quill will sense something and be like, oh, magic, okay, we're gonna write down this kid's name. But if the book isn't convinced, it'll snap shut and won't let the quill write it down. And apparently that's the process so that they don't just like put anyone in there, especially like squibs. I kind of feel weird saying that word. Non-magical people born to wizard parents. I don't know. Squib just sounds so harsh, But anyway, it's supposed to make sure that the children are actually magical through this process. And what's really funny is she uses Neville as an example. And I'm just going to read the paragraph because it made me laugh. It says, "Thus, the very moment that Neville Longbottom was born, the quill attempted to write his name and was refused by the book, which snapped shut." Even the midwife who attended Alice Longbottom had failed to notice that Neville managed to shift his blankets more snugly over himself moments after birth, assuming that his father had tucked the baby in more securely. Neville's family persistently missed faint signs of magic in him, and not until he was 8 years old did either his disappointed great aunts and uncles or the old stickler of a book accept that he was truly a wizard when he survived a fall that should have killed him. So, the book almost didn't let Neville in. And wow, what a world that would be. Gosh, what would have happened? Neville's such a hero. That would be really bad. So anyway, another quote from the site said, "The quill's sensitivity, coupled with the book's implacability, have never yet made a mistake." So there you go. That's how kids are chosen to go to Hogwarts. Guess I didn't make the cut. That book just kept me out. I know that the quill probably saw something, but whatever. Okay, so back to the letters. Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, of course, freak out because I guess they had some sort of idea that if they just like were mean to Harry and just didn't talk about magic at all, that it would just go away. I don't know, but they're realizing that they're done for. Like, the Wizarding World's looking for him. He's going to go to that school. So they move Harry to another room full of broken toys. Bless him. Gosh, what an image. Poor Harry. But at least he has a bedroom. That's good there. And some books, which are apparently the only things that are still intact. So he's fine. He's in a new room. But he's upset because he didn't get his letter, which obviously I would be very upset too. But over the next couple of pages, we see that the letters start coming in everywhere. And Harry tries to be sneaky and get one and steps on Uncle Vernon's face because he's sleeping outside waiting for the mailman to come. And we see that these letters come in everywhere. They're getting shoved through the bathroom window, coming in the egg cartons. Like, these people are persistent. And it kind of makes me wonder who is exactly sending the letters or whose idea this is. Because you can imagine them kind of laughing about it. Like, oh, let's try this time. Let's put it in the milk carton. I don't know. I want to know who's responsible for this because they deserve a high five. So then eventually we have them coming in through the fireplace. That's the last straw. Uncle Vernon, who's already losing it, decides that they are going to leave. So they pull out of Privet Drive and out into the great outdoors. Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, Dudley, and Harry. Dudley's crying. It's just, wow. What an experience for Harry and his 10-year-old life. So one of the places they go is Cokeworth. And guys, did you know this is where Petunia, Lily, and Snape grew up? Yeah, it's on the Wizarding World website. They grew up in Cokeworth, and J.K. Rowling just tosses that in there, and that's where they stop and have tomatoes on toast, which, is that a British thing? Do any of you eat tomatoes on toast? I hate raw tomatoes, so I'm a bit biased toward not eating them. But yeah, that just sounds gross. I don't know. But yeah, Cokeworth is going to be a really important place in the series. Whenever Bellatrix and Narcissa go and visit Snape, they're going to Cokeworth, to this town that Harry just drives through as Uncle Vernon is trying to get away from these letters. Like, wow. What a connection. Anyway, Cokeworth, hometown of Lily Potter. But as they are going on this adventure, runaway, for lack of a better word, I don't really know, Harry is wondering and wondering. He's on the edge of this new adventure. There is someone who's looking for him very persistently. Gosh, this chapter is just so well done because there's so much tension being built, and we want to know, and we're seeing them on the run from these letters from unknown individuals. Oh my goodness. It makes me just so ready for Hagrid to jump in the door. I know I've already said that, but we are getting close. So, Vernon is steadily losing it as they go from place to place. Okay, this is my favorite Vernon from the entire series. Like, this chapter is funny. From him, like, hitting a nail in with a slice of fruitcake to him muttering, "Shake 'em off," like as they're driving down the road. He sings Tiptoe Through the Tulips at one point and jumps at all the small sounds. I don't know. There's just a lot in here. And this is my favorite Vernon Dursley that we get throughout this book series in chapter 3. And then he's finally satisfied. Actually, he kind of leaves them for a while. Comes back with some rations, some potato chips and bananas. And they found this shack out in the middle of the sea, along with this old guy, toothless grin. This chapter is awesome. I just find it very funny. And they take this guy's boat, go out to this shack, and Uncle Vernon seems very satisfied. He's like, there's no way they're going to find us out here. No letters are going to reach us. And so, yeah, they are just cooped up in this building. I don't know how long he plans for them to stay there. I feel like they could have stayed there a while. He's very manic at this point, so I think it would have lasted for a couple of weeks. I don't know. So anyway, at the end of the chapter, we have Harry's countdown. We find out it's his birthday. He's turning 11. He almost forgot, which is sad in itself, but moving on. And he's doing his little countdown. He's hearing some noises outside. He's wondering, where these people are. And then we end with, even though we might be discussing 2 chapters, I am going to read the last paragraph. 1 minute to go, and he'd be 11. 30 seconds, 20, 10, 9. Maybe he'd wake Dudley up just to annoy him. 3, 2, 1. Boom! The whole shack has shivered, and Harry sat bolt upright, staring at the door. Someone was outside, knocking to come in. It's Hagrid. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and talk about chapter 4. I'm too excited, and I just cannot leave on that note. She's built so much up in this chapter, and we've got to move on. But first, we'll take a quick coffee break, Oh my goodness. Oh, hazelnut. So what do you think about this chapter? What is your favorite part? Let us know in the comments. Yeah, I feel like every chapter is full of such rich information to talk about, and you can connect it to the whole series. There's just a lot to cover. So with that, let's move on to chapter 4. The Keeper of the Keys. We have Hagrid. He literally just knocked the door in right as Harry's birthday started. And we get our first description of him. I'll read it. The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges, and with a deafening crash landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard. But you could make out his eyes, glinting like black beetles under all the hair. I can only imagine what Harry's feeling right now, what all of them are feeling. But anyway, I want to talk for a second about Hagrid and what he means to Harry and this series as a whole. Like I mentioned, I think in the first video, he's one of my favorite characters. Just because he's just so warm and loving, and he's always there, just like this rock that Harry has. He's literally there from the beginning. He's the guy who gets Harry from the house, brings him to the Dursleys, and now he's picking Harry up from the Dursleys to take him to Hogwarts. He is just like, he is the gateway for Harry to different parts of his life, I feel like. But he's almost like Harry's first, not parent figure, but the first adult Harry encounters that really cares about him and loves him, and that stretches off into the books. Hagrid always has a soft spot for Harry, and he is one of the first people to care about him, to me, that Harry sees, of course. I mean, there's people who care about him that Harry doesn't know about, but this is the first person to talk to Harry that he can see really cares about him. He gives him a birthday cake. Oh my gosh, Hagrid, so thoughtful. But as this chapter begins, Hagrid finds out that Harry knows nothing about Hogwarts, nothing about magic, and nothing about his parents. And actually, in the article for next week, I write a little bit about this, stretching into Harry's time in Diagon Alley, where he undergoes just such a change in identity. Not that in his personality changes or anything like that, but he changes the way other people view him. The way he views himself, his place in the world, what his future is going to be. It is a lot that he finds out in this chapter for an 11-year-old or for anybody. His life completely changes. First, he finds out that he is a wizard and he has magical powers. Obviously a very important change. And then he finally gets to read the letter, and I'll read it right now. It says, "Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall." Minerva McGonagall. If he only knew how awesome she is and how important she's going to be in his time at Hogwarts. Harry also finds out soon after that the Dursleys knew that he was a wizard, and he's understandably really angry about this. And this is when we finally get Aunt Petunia's rant about Lily and how she was always overshadowed by her, and her parents loved the fact that she was a witch. We get a lot about Aunt Petunia in this chapter. And actually, as I was reading this, it made me think, I feel like there is one part, and some of you may remember, and if you do, put it in the comments. I have a feeling it's in the 5th book when Harry is getting all of those owls at the beginning, whenever he gets expelled. And I think that Aunt Petunia mentions that horrible boy, or that terrible boy, and she's talking about Snape right there. She doesn't do it here, because at first I was like, oh, is this the part where she like casually mentions Snape and Harry thinks that she's talking about his dad? But I think that might happen later. Anyway, really cool. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for their childhood, or maybe not. But either way, it would have been interesting, and I just think that Petunia is a very intense character. There's a lot to her, so. And then Aunt Petunia also mentions the death of Lily and James, how they actually died. She tells Harry they were blown up. Good grief. This woman, like, I just I just feel like the Dursleys just don't care at all about Harry's feelings. I mean, I just think about it. I have a brother-in-law who's 10. And, you know, he's close to Harry's age the way he'd been right now. And I can't imagine him finding out something like this. And just the people telling him not even caring. It's just so heartless. Oh my gosh. And Hagrid takes this opportunity to talk to him about his parents and Voldemort. Fun fact, in the audiobooks, and actually I think this was how J.K. Rowling intended it to be pronounced, it doesn't have a hard T on the end. The guy says Voldemort all the way up to like the Goblet of Fire. I think that's the last book he pronounces it like that. But yeah, the movies went with Voldemort, but I think it's supposed to be like a French pronunciation, Voldemort. Anyway, I feel like that hard T gives us a bit of, you know, a bit of power behind it. I don't know. I guess I don't really have a preference. But anyway, Voldemort's introduced here to Harry, and Hagrid talks about how people are still scared. And it just makes me really interesting about, you know, thinking about what it would have been like before Harry came along and before Voldemort lost power. Apparently he was getting more and more powerful. I don't know like what level he was at before Harry came, if he was as strong as we see him in the later books, but I don't know. Just makes me interested to think about what their society would have been like with Voldemort in full power. And then we have another instance of Uncle Vernon being the worst. Again, Harry is a kid, keep this in mind. And he says something about Harry's parents and how he knew they would meet a sticky end and they were weirdos. And he goes from chapter 3 Uncle Vernon, who is funny because he's going through a stressful situation. Maybe that's a bad time to laugh at someone, but whatever, to this. And there's a lot of resentment here for Uncle Vernon. Actually, there's been an article written by J.K. Rowling about Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, their dating relationship, and then their first meeting with Lily and James, like the first time Uncle Vernon gets introduced to him. And apparently they had a very bad first introduction. Uncle Vernon tried to be all condescending and ask him what car he drove, and James responded by describing his racing broom. And they just got into a big fight. It was just little things like that. And Petunia and Vernon did not go to Lily and James's wedding. So just a lot of resentment there, both on Petunia's side especially, but Uncle Vernon too. I think he really disliked James a lot. Hagrid goes on to talk more about Voldemort after Uncle Vernon's rude interruption and talks about how no one really knows how, but Harry stumped Voldemort and he's gone. And something that Harry did caused him to either die or lose his powers or disappear. I mean, we know what happened to him. But at this point, no one does. Hagrid doesn't know where he is. And he looks at Harry, it says, with warmth and respect blazing in his eyes. But Harry feels really intimidated at this moment. He has a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot to take in. He's like, how could this really be true? I've been beaten up by Dudley all my life. You know, the Dursleys have been horrible to me. If I was a wizard, I could have done something. You know, he just isn't really sure how to take this news until he starts thinking back to those weird things that would happen to him. And he has this glimmer of hope, like, oh, maybe this is for me. Like, maybe this is all true. As I mentioned in my article for next week, I don't think that it really, like, you know, sunk into Harry that, yeah, this is absolutely fact until he goes to Diagon Alley and sees all the people. This whole transformation that Harry undergoes in his thinking takes place through the next couple of chapters, just as he's adjusting to this new reality and like, do I really belong here? Yeah, maybe I'm a wizard, but am I actually going to fit in? I feel like it's just such a relatable topic. We've all had those moments, admittedly, probably on a smaller scale, but really, I love these next couple of chapters, and I can't wait to talk about Diagon Alley with you next week. It's one of my favorite parts. I think I'm just going to keep saying that because we're going to go to Hogwarts soon, and that'll probably be my favorite part. But anyway, Uncle Vernon insults Dumbledore, which is the last straw for Hagrid, and he pulls out his umbrella and casts a spell on Dudley that gives him a pigtail. And part of me kind of hates that Hagrid took it out on Dudley. Dudley is literally silent during this scene and just afraid, and Hagrid does the spell on him instead of Uncle Vernon. Can you imagine if Uncle Vernon had gotten a pigtail? Gosh, I really wish that would have been the case. But yeah, Carson Barker, that I spotlighted his comment, spotlighted? I don't know. I talked about his comment last week, and he just really got me thinking on how Dudley would feel in these situations. And Dudley was already scared. I don't know. I wish it could have been Uncle Vernon, honestly. Simply because of the humor, and Dudley is also 11. I think he would have been 11. Kind of sad. We have our last paragraph of chapter 4. Harry has learned all this amazing information. He's just now processing it, and they're about to go to sleep. I cannot. How would you even go to sleep after this, honestly? Oh my goodness, it's like Christmas. Like, you're going shopping for school stuff the next day, wizard school stuff. I don't know how Harry slept. These are the last couple of sentences from this chapter. "Why aren't you supposed to do magic?" asked Harry. "Oh, well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled, to tell you the truth, in me 3rd year. They snapped me wand in half and everything. But Dumbledore let me stay on as gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore." "Why were you expelled?" "Oh, it's getting late, and we've got lots to do tomorrow," said Hagrid loudly. "Gotta get up to town, get all your books and that." He took off his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. "You can kip under that," he said. "Don't mind if it wriggles a bit. I think I still got a couple of dormice in one of the pockets." So, just a fun little ending. I love how we get so much personality from Hagrid, from his accent to the different things he talks about, to how he interrupts himself. He says things he shouldn't. Gosh, man, I didn't realize how much I loved Hagrid until these videos, honestly. Just talking about him. He is such a colorful character. And like I said, just a good rock for Harry, Ron, and Hermione during their years at Hogwarts. He's a great guy. Hagrid. Anyway, so that's the end of the chapter. And I'm kind of sad because this was a really fun video to make. But guys, we're going to Diagon Alley next week. It's gonna be a blast. I'm gonna try not to talk too much about wands, but guys, I love wands and I love wand lore. I can't believe I said that word out loud, wand lore. I don't think I've ever said that, but J.K. Rowling has written a lot about this subject on Wizarding World, and you can expect that I'm going to talk about that next week. Going to do a lot of studying on wands, and actually I have a couple of wands, and I'll bring some during the videos to kind of show you. Every time a wand is mentioned, maybe I'll bring a new one out. I think I already know which one I'm going to use for next week. It's a surprise. I think this is the nerdiest I've ever been in my life, but hey, I got these wands for a reason, and I'm going to show them off. Man, wands, what a good time. So yeah, we'll talk about Diagon Alley next week, see Harry continue his journey as he learns more about the Wizarding World. It is going to be such a good time. Thanks for tuning in to Muggles and Mocha today. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. Like I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like these videos, you can get updates. And then also I have social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as my website that you can send in your email address and get updates whenever I make a post. You know what? I think I just reached the end of this, so perfect timing. Gosh. Harry Potter and coffee. Can you get a better combination, really? Don't forget to comment. All of you had such good comments on the first article, and I know that once I start getting comments for the second, I haven't actually released it yet, that they're going to be good as well. You guys are so smart, and you know, we all have different perspectives on these books and life in general, and so I just love to hear what you think about the topics we discussed today in this video, or then just thoughts about the chapter in general. So let me know, and I'll spotlight one of your comments. It'll be at the beginning of this video, and I'll do that for all my videos because I think that you guys just have so much wonderful stuff to say. But until next time, I will see you for our next edition of Muggles and Mocha. Bye.